Good afternoon. Come on, you can be more generous than this. Good afternoon. Thank you. I was listening to my introduction. And not that the introduction was not right, it was very descriptive. I just want to share with you a personal story. This was November 1962. Many of you may not remember. It was 19th November 1962. China attacked India. And they came from the northeastern part. Today we call it Arunachal Pradesh. In those days, it used to be called NEFA, Northeastern Frontier Agency. And when they crossed the mountains, the first town they reached was a town called Tejpur. Actually, it was Bhalukpong and then Tejpur. I was born in Tejpur, and in 1962, my father had just put me in a kindergarten school, KG. I was 5 years old, and I remember this morning very well. The teacher came to the class and said, the Chinese army is less than 50 kilometers from the school. The government of India has asked us to vacate the town by 7 p.m. We are trying to reach your parents to take you back home. We were excited that we got a holiday. My father came, we walked back home. On the way, we saw the State Bank of India burning the currencies. The DC office was burning lots of papers. We left the town. In those days, there was no bridge on river Brahmaputra. So we had to wait overnight. Next morning, we took a ferry, crossed Brahmaputra, and it took us 7 days to come to Rohtak, Haryana, where my grandparents were living. This is November 1962. 55 years later, November 2017, that refugee of the China war was appointed as the president of China-Europe International Business School, which 2 weeks ago was rated as the #1 business school in the world, and that refugee is before you. That's what I can say. This is my introduction. A refugee of a China war, and for Chinese to appoint an Indian as the head of the institution speaks about 2 words, Bharatiya Sanskar and Bharatiya Sanskriti. Honorable Minister mentioned about these 2 words this morning, and people ask me, how come a Chinese refugee or a refugee can become the head of an institution? I always tell people, Indian parents' commitment to education is uncomparable in the world. Most Indian parents, today things have changed, but when we were growing up, there was no concept of a vacation for Indian parents. All what they wanted to do was to give their children the best education. Many Chinese people ask me one question, and I don't know whether you know this. In 2001, I was the first person of color to become the head of a top business school in US. It had never happened before. But today, there are 69 deans of business schools who are of Indian origin. So I remember this day when I was appointed, people said, कि Dipak, you are opening a new door, अगर तुम successful नहीं हुए, तो बहुत दरवाजे बंद हो जाएंगे. And my first day as the dean of Kellogg School was 9/11, 2001. I was welcoming 600 MBA students, and 15 minutes into my presentation, the director of corporate communications came to the podium and said, Dean Jain, there has been a terrorist attack on the US soil. You need to shut up before the cell phone starts ringing. You can imagine what an omen for first time becoming the dean, and 9/11 happened. See, you cannot undo what has happened. But the problem started that all the students who had jobs started coming back to my office and saying, Dean Jain, we have heard from our company, they are asking us, we cannot join, and they are asking us to wait for another year. Kya kare? Lots of students without jobs, 9/11 happened. I called the deans of some other schools, like Harvard, Stanford. They told me one sentence. He said, Dipak, this is not just for you. All schools are going to be affected. So just calm down. Now, I have a saying, we all live under the same sky, but we seem to have different horizons. Action is the same, but how you react to that action is your differentiation. So I decided to do something, and that ties to the theme today. I decided to write a letter to the students I have taught over the years, asking if in their company they would have some opening to absorb. I had about 62 students who were in real trouble. CNN got a hold of that letter, and they put on the CNN news saying, Kellogg Dean begging for jobs. My letter was there, and the bottom line was Kellogg Dean begging for jobs. A lot of people came to me, and I said, this is the best advertisement I got. Everyone at least knows that there is a Kellogg Dean who is an Indian. And that letter made a big difference in the US history. I sent that letter, and within 2 weeks, I had 92 offers. And I was looking for 62. And I traveled, as soon as the plane started flying, as part of the hospitality. In our business, what is hospitality? How you serve your students. And the serving has to be selfless. I traveled across the US to make sure that the companies don't stop coming to recruit at the Kellogg School. In 2002, Kellogg School had the highest placement rate, and this person of color was on the cover of Business Week. So my point is, India is going to be the next charming destination, but our differentiation is not going to come from the number of hotels or the number of rooms. It would be the software, how we serve people, our personal touch, the way we serve people. This morning somebody used the word, I think it was the MC, heart, दिल से. जो हम लोग छोटे थे, टीचर कहते थे लर्न दिस बाय हार्ट, नॉट बाय माइंड. एक वर्ड था कि ये बाय हार्ट याद करो, मतलब जो दिल में चीज़ रह जाती है वो सारी हमेशा रहेगी. सो वी नीड टू मेक श्योर दैट वी सर्व अवर पीपल दिल से, प्रेम से, and earn the respect and trust of the people. So for the next 10-15 minutes, I will just share with you what I see as the future of this industry and what's going to be India's competitive advantage. I remember Mr. Nihat this morning talked a lot about all the different travel destinations, and Mr. Keswani also added to that. They mentioned few names. I am also going to repeat the names, but when अगर सारी माला एक अच्छी तब बनती है जब सारे कण they are connected well. So the one country that was mentioned was Maldives. Somebody mentioned Australia. They showed all the number of hotels. Japan, they all gave hard statistics, and the speaker this afternoon also had data. Don't lie. Europe. Some people ask me, what is the future of Europe? I say the future of Europe is tourism and museums, full of them. South Africa, Thailand, India. The majestic experience. These are the countries. I just put the name in a particular order so people can remember this thing. Now, particularly, I want to mention about China. 5 years, I was in Shanghai as the president of China Europe International Business School. And till 2019, before COVID, Chinese used to be the #1 traveler to Thailand. If you look, the Thai tourism minister was a very close friend of mine. She used to say that the highest number of visitors we get is from China. That definitely has slowed down now. It may come back, and today that number is being taken up by the Indians to countries like Thailand and many others. One thing that I learned in China, and I still believe the country would come back to what it is the work ethics of the people that I worked with. By work ethics, I mean being very professional and respectful. So if we have to compare India to other countries, we need to think about what's best in each country that we can bring and try to serve our guests in the best possible way. And let me tell you what it is. So what are some market trends? We all today are in this business of what I call healthy aging. We are going to live longer, but we are also going to live in a more healthy manner than our fathers or forefathers. A very interesting statistics. First time in the world history, today there are more people 65 plus than 5 minus. Just imagine, which has strong implications in countries like Korea, where the TFR, the total fertility rate, is almost less than 1. In another 10 or 20 years, many schools are going to be closed. There won't be children there to go to school. By 2030, there will be 1 billion people in the world over 65. And we call it the silver economy. Silver generation has 3 things. They have time, they have energy because of being in good health, and they also have money. This is the segment worldwide I think we need to attract, to bring them for this tourism to India, because India has so much to offer, right from Kashmir area to Kerala, from the west to Assam to Kaziranga and other places. You can have 3-4 major trips to India and still not cover what India has to offer. Young people are also interested in tourism. It's not just the older one. And the key is, this morning the speaker made this comment, it has to be enjoyable, affordable, memorable, and recommendable. Lots of speakers mentioned about the different quality of hotels to make it more affordable. And today we have more connectivity through surface, sea, and sky. So the trends are all positive. What I mean to say, and I really want to thank Mr. Bhuvnesh for taking this initiative to create this conference, because this is in true sense a growth industry worldwide, not only for India, worldwide, because this segment 65 plus is a very prime segment to attract. Now, what is India's competitive advantage? Remember this country, we used to say Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Excuse me for saying that, but I feel that the brick has suffered a crack. There are issues in Brazil, there are issues in Russia, Currently, we are seeing issues in China. The only country that is standing straight is the India. And many speakers this morning have mentioned that part. Now, I would say, why India? So this was the very strange thing. Last December, I was at the Geo Institute in Navi Mumbai. Mr. Ambani is opening a new institute here. I am the honorary vice chancellor. And I got a call from Shanghai Municipal Education Commission. And the person called me and said, Dr. Jain, since 2020, post-COVID, till today, the Indian stock market has doubled. We would like you to tell us what made it happen and what can China learn from it. Just imagine, this is the head of Shanghai Municipal Commission asking what can China learn from India. And I give you 48 hours. In 48 hours, I wrote a paper called, this paper I wrote, India, a Safe Haven. And I said that safe is, India has stable economic growth, and the growth in India is stable because we have a local consumption. Unlike China, we don't depend on that much on exports. Very stable. Second is affordable middle class. This is something we all have talked about. And this middle class, the young people are also willing to travel. F is favorable demographics and destiny. We are God-fearing people. We believe in destiny, but at the same time, the demographics are in our favor. And E, as I said you at the beginning, our differentiation is educational excellence. That's why people like us, हम तो हिंदी राष्ट्रभाषा विद्यालय में पढ़े थे, कभी अंग्रेजी पढ़े ही नहीं. It was in 6th grade, हमको इंग्लिश पढ़ाई गई थी. And I remember there was a course called Hindi to English Translation. और टीचर ने लिखा एक राजा था, उसकी इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करो. आई रोट डाउन ए किंग वॉज. टीचर ने एक चाटा मारा. बोला क्यों? बोला देयर वॉज ए किंग. मैंने पूछा देयर कहाँ से आया? उन्होंने दूसरा चाटा मारा. दिस वॉज माई नॉलेज ऑफ इंग्लिश इन 6th ग्रेड. और वो आदमी जिसको अंग्रेजी नहीं आती थी, यूएस के सबसे टॉप बिजनेस स्कूल का डीन बनता है. तो हाउ यू लुक, हाउ यू स्पीक is less important than your personality and your perseverance and dedication. Or that is what I believe is what India is about. And the other part that helps us is demographic dividend. ये तो सभी जानते हैं कि today we have more than 600 million people under age 30, and we have the lowest number of people above 65. This number 7% in India is 30% in Japan. And in Europe, China, etc., this is close to 19 to 21%. So we are in a very, what I call the driver's seat. So in that sense, we have the demographics in our favor. Bhagwan ki dua hai, the destiny is in our favor, everything is fine. So what are the global market opportunities? I think this area, just a couple of minutes. First growth industry is healthcare and wealth care. We are going to live longer, so we need better healthcare. And also wealth care is how you learn how to manage money. India is doing very well so far on that dimension. Second is consumer engagement, how we keep people engaged. So if you look at a company like Apple, today, the people can just spend the whole day. I tell airlines that जब flight delayed हो जाती है, Wi-Fi free कर दो. People would not complain about the delay. They will just get engaged with that and so on. You can, rather than paying them some reimbursement, make it be easily. But the biggest industry to me is hospitality. Travel, tourism, hotels and restaurants. And so we all are in this growth trajectory But in order to do that, we need to make sure that we do it the best way. I tell people, brand is not the promise, but the delivery of the promise. You can promise anything you like, but if you don't deliver, then it doesn't work. So over these years, if people ask me, how did they make you the Dean of Kellogg and others, I only use one word, that competencies can be outsourced. Trust cannot be outsourced. So my success has been that you earn the respect and trust of the people you work for. And same thing in the hospitality industry is what the speakers also said. Create a culture of respect in the hotel, in the environment. Create a culture of trust. And that is what would make you happy. I am sure that I have exceeded the time, but Bhuvnesh, if you just allow me 2 minutes, I just want to share something very personal, and please excuse me to do that. My father always used to say a sentence, my mother never went to school. And my father was born with one eye, but later on he lost his other eye. So for most of his life, he was totally blind. That's why my grandfather, who was a teacher, named me Dipak, saying, Beta, Jagdish, मेरे father का नाम था, Jagdish cannot see light, you need to give light to the world. तो नाम दीपक रखा. तो ठीक है. My mother died in 1996. My father was blind, so I used to come and see him for a very long time. Every month from US for 1 day. From 1998 to 2008, 11 years. 2008, he was quite sick. I came to see him first week, second week, third week. And 2008 was a very special year for Kellogg because Kellogg was established in 1908 and 2008 was the 100 years and an Indian being the head of the institution to celebrate 100 years. मेरे फादर बचपन से मुझे एक बात कहते थे कि बेटा, इंसान जीतता अपनी औलाद से है और हारता भी अपनी औलाद के आगे है. If parents cannot place the students, their children well, they consider it as a defeat. Anyway, 2008 थर्ड वीक मेरे भाई ने मुझे फ़ोन किया कि फादर की तबीयत बहुत ख़राब है, वो ICU दिल्ली में है, रोहतक से आए थे. I flew, went to see him in the ICU. We were waiting for the doctor to come. My phone rang. So मैं फ़ोन लेके बाहर आ गया. And by the time I came back, the doctor came and said, you can take your father back to Rohtak. His condition is stable. He will feel comfortable in his room to go to the bathroom, etc., rather than being here in the ICU. हम लोग ले गए. संडे को शाम को जैसे I was going back, मेरे फादर की याददाश्त बहुत अच्छी थी. बोला, बेटा, कल जब मैं ICU में था तो फ़ोन बजा था. किसका फ़ोन था? मैंने कहा, बाबूजी, अंबानी साहब का फ़ोन था. बोला, कौन अंबानी? मैंने बोला, मुकेश अंबानी. बोलो, मुकेश अंबानी रिलायंस वाले क्या कह रहे थे? मैंने बोला, बाबूजी, आपकी तबीयत के बारे में पूछ रहे थे और कह रहे थे कि बेटा, और कह रहे थे, दीपक, अगर तुमको बाबूजी के लिए कोई हेल्प चाहिए तो मुझे बताना. बोला, अंबानी साहब मेरी तबीयत के बारे में पूछ रहे थे? मैंने बोला, हाँ. मेरे सर पे हाथ रख के बोले, बेटा, तूने मुझे आज जिता दिया. And I flew back to Chicago. I landed, and my brother called me and said he passed away. मैं शिकागो पहुंचा हूं और वो 28 अक्टूबर दिवाली का दिन था. दुनिया के दिए जले और उनका दिया बुझ गया. But he lived a good life. My request to all of you is invest in the people who work for you and work with you. They are all like family members. We are part of an extended family members. And I can tell you one thing. No challenge ahead of you is greater than the force behind you. Dipak Jain is always behind you. अगर मैं कभी भी किसी के लिए कुछ कर सकता हूँ, you can always count on this, Dipak. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.